Well, welcome everybody. It's great to see you all. And here we are on what is probably our last warm day for a while. Am I muted? No, I'm not.
No, you're on.
I'm fine. Yeah.
I'm just like, uh-huh, uh-huh.
Yeah. And there's Christy. Christy, perfect timing. We're just getting going, right, for the recording. So,
Christy, to answer your question from last week of, is anybody looking for someone? I might have someone who may be interested in helping in being like doing a group reflection piece. So I don't know if, yeah. So I don't know if you've had any luck looking for anybody, but I might have found someone if you haven't.
Well, I got a couple of names.
Okay.
And in the meantime, someone said, oh, the district contracts for that stuff.
Oh.
And you all know, right? Like, we don't know about these things. So, but honestly, I don't want to follow that route because it's too restricting and you got to find out if your building's on the contract, and I haven't heard stellar things about it. So if you have someone.
What are you looking for?
Oh,
repeat your question. Oh, that's okay. At the end of the last meeting, Christy asked Christy asked a great question.
Oh, I just think that we're not going to get through all of this if we don't have some support for our well-being and our mental health. And that one way to do that would have small group reflective practice with a therapist leading those groups.
It's a great idea.
Yes, please.
Yes, please. Yeah,
well, you guys ever see that, a few years ago, we did the Center for Early Education and Development they had like these small grants you could apply for to kind of foster collaborative work. And so Heather Klein and I partnered with them, got one of the grants, and we wrote about reflective practice and reflective supervision. And, and it actually ended up being really good because it was that from the early childhood sort of intervention piece of it, it's more reflective supervision. And from the parent ed part, the reflective practice is more supporting the practice of the parenting of the parent, right? And we're always amazed at other professions that sort of stop and don't get to the parent, or they like in special ed, focus on the child, and then they're not really connecting as well, with parents. Anyway, so we kind of wrote this concept paper about reflective practice with parents and reflective supervision with practitioners. And it was great because it exposed me to what reflective supervision is all about. And, but I just wondered, especially like this group is so wonderful and supportive with each other. Would that ever, and here I am like adding like a layer of work, but I'm just wondering, would there be value, and would it be at all feasible or interesting if, let's say, there was training on reflective supervision or something like that, like we all could do and gain some skills, so then we could meet in groups of 6 or 8 and kind of do that. So I'm just thinking, if those, because what I find in the world of parenting ed is a lot of times you have to go outside the field to get services, and the services are about 60 or 80% there because it's a service. It has to do with evaluation or therapy or culture, something like that, and that's all fine. But they don't have that extra piece that is specific to our practice, right? They don't have the specific thing about parents. And so I don't know. I just wondered because, and I'm not belittling, and I know, and then when I say that now, it's just like someone's going to slam me for not being respectful to all of the skills and training that it takes to do good reflective supervision. So, But I'm just thinking of sort of a middle ground approach where skills could be gained to facilitate a reflective practice in a group. Does that make sense? It made sense in my mind.
Explain to me how that's any different than providing coaches, because that's kind of it's a coaching skill to be able to do that. The questions are very similar to coaching.
Okay.
And so it's kind of I think looking at it as reflective practice, we've got the research that backs that up, and that would really be a great way to support that. And maybe I'm going off on a tangent that we don't need to go there. It's just a thought.
But Karen, you're talking about like coaching parents.
No, I'm talking about coaching peers. It's like peer coaching.
Okay. So if that already exists, then could that be operationalized?
I mean, statewide or district-wide, what are you thinking?
Well, I'm just thinking about Christy's point, right? I mean, a way to get at the mental health needs of the field to help get through really challenging times, right? But to mobilize peer coaching that might help to meet that need. And especially if there are districts that can't or aren't interested in coughing up any additional financial resources to make that happen.
Yeah.
So
I'm thinking that one of the benefits of having someone else come in is that you don't have somebody that's in the system. And I think that that's a healthy way to approach it. I think it's would be more beneficial for staff. If you just have staff just regurgitating stuff, that's not going to be as helpful as just having another perspective. So I think it's important to have somebody from the outside come in. And I don't know how far the outside is, if it is district or if it is private practice or whatever it might be. I don't know. Yeah. So I think I took you down a road you didn't need to go down. Sorry.
No. I think it's all related. I mean, honestly, maybe because we're so grilled into parenting education and training and licensing and all of that stuff here at the university, that I haven't heard as much about peer coaching being applied to the practice of parenting education. So it's wonderful. And so what I'm wondering is, I mean, is there training? Do you guys use that in 196? So, I mean, if we were to, this is just me thinking, it's just like, if there's like a set of skills to be gained to become a peer coach that could be offered to professionals to sort of gain those skills, and then professionals can offer their service to facilitate sort of groups of peers outside of their own district, and in a way that would meet some sort of mental health needs.
I'll just retire and then I'll just have that as my new job.
There you go. You and I can do it together.
I second the motion. But there's been no focus on peer coaching. I mean, I don't even think I've ever heard those words uttered in my district.
We've had peer coaching here, but it's been a long time. I don't know if that it's even people still do it. I just think of the cognitive coaching training that I've had, and it's very parallel.
Yeah.
So.
And again, it's possible that it has been mentioned in my district, but they forget about the early childhood folks.
How do you guys do teacher evaluation though? Is it always from, because in Edina we used to do 2 observations by our like assigned person and then 1 peer observation?
It depends upon whether you're tenured or not.
Yeah. Sorry, that was for tenured people.
Mm-hmm. For tenured people, you get 3 observations. Once every 3 years you do in our district. Right?
Oh my goodness.
Our peer coaches are through QComp. So we have a system for that. And quite frankly, it's up to the teacher how they really want to use that coach. And they are nicely trained coaches.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I remember from when I worked in 196, when I was a TA, I felt like I got a lot of coaching. I don't know if I was just asking for it, but I felt like someone would have observed me in the classroom and then had feedback or,
Mhm.
and ideas like, oh, here, do you want to do this? I felt like I got a lot of, but that was 4-5 years ago. So I don't know how things have changed, but.
And go ahead, Karen.
Well, I'm just thinking for TAs in our district, they do have somebody that comes in, but where that goes, it's up to the teacher. It's not necessarily specific to mental health or reflective practice.
Right.
Right.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Cinnamon.
And that's what we do in our district. So like before you get tenured, you have 3 years where you are under your peer coach and they're training you how to like do the next step. So like right now I'm in my 4th year. And so now I am like considered a peer coach for my coworkers, right? I haven't formally had any training, but that's what our master coaches are for. They have gone through, I don't know how many hours of training. But now I get to observe my peers and go and see what they're doing and how they're doing it and all that. And we're under Q Comp too. So that's how we're doing it. But we have not had a focus in on any mental health. But I'm thinking like for us at our district anyway, we can go to our TSA people, like we can go personally to our what am I trying to say? Our like school psychologists and stuff, like they're open to take us as staff if we need a mental health like chit chat. So that's what we can do. So.
Hi, Sam.
Hi, Susan.
Christy, what you're really talking about though is like a group of colleagues together kind of unpacking how it's going with facilitated by someone. That's your vision?
I think I'm what Susan was talking about, reflective supervision, reflective practice, and it's, that's done in the mental health field as part of like their profession, like they have to do that. And we do a lot of coaching and processing and things like that here. And I really am looking for someone who works with I termed it human service providers. And I know that those therapists are out there. And I put the 2 names that came back to me in the chat. And, it's really just following up on that, figuring out how to pay for it, figuring out how to schedule it in, all of that. And I do think what Karen said is important, that it needs to be someone outside our organization.
Yep. And you're driving this right now on top of the rest of your regular stuff that you're doing.
Well,
yeah, I'm just clarifying.
I mean,
yeah.
I'd like to drop some other stuff.
I get it.
That goes through my supervisor. Like when I say, okay, let's not hit all this PD so hard this year. Like let's let some of the content and let's let some of that go. We don't need to make further progress on that one leg of our stool of goals, let's let some of that go and use those resources and time for this. I've just been talking to a few people about it, and our special ed sisters as well, the leadership there, I mentioned it to them. They were interested. It's just a matter of coordinating it all and getting someone on you have to jump through all these hoops.
Yeah.
And I think, when you can have a PD where you have a mental health provider talk, but then that's just, okay, that's a list of things and here's your handout. And it's, great, thank you very much. You filled my cup for a half hour or for 3 hours and now I can move on. But when you have somebody who comes in and does the coaching on a regular basis, you go deeper. And I think that's what you're going for. Is that right, Christy?
It is what I'm going for. And I don't want to go to another seminar on self-care.
Exactly.
Anyway, I always have these big ideas and then I run into all these barriers. But there you go.
You're in the right field, I guess, then.
Well, you're with the right peeps. I don't know.
I had a talk yesterday, or a conversation with a young woman who, I'm not exactly sure what all of her connection was with St. Paul ECFE, but she, I think she might have worked in the classroom, but not as a parenting educator. But she loves ECFE. And she's, so she was interviewing, well, we were conversing for a class that she's taking on, sort of a leadership or something. And so I started just being me, and started talking about sort of ECFE's sort of role within school districts and within kind of this wider infrastructure. And she emailed me, and because then and it was just like, and the teachers aren't recognized, and and all this, and don't get me started on evaluation. And she emailed me back last night thanking me, and then she goes, my dream of ECFE has been broken. So I have to write her back and let her know it shouldn't be broken. I mean, it's just recognizing the reality to know the size of the dragon that needs to be, tamed. And if you ignore it, nothing gets changed. So
I just posted a link in the chat.
This is great, Ellen.
Yeah. It talks about that self-care piece. Like, how are the teachers? Stop telling us how amazing we are. We know that. But at the same time, like, it's not because we are taking more bubble baths. It's because we're able to get the mental health support that we need. Am I right? Like, and I talk about this with parents too. There was an article, I'll see if I can find it. Sorry about my beast. There was an article about self-care isn't about bubble baths and massages.
Right.
It's about turning your life into something that you don't feel you have to run away from.
Yes.
And that article, maybe you've seen that article.
That resonated with me too. I remember it. And
so I told that to family, I shared that with families, and I said, if you find yourself needing a vacation every weekend, really look at what it is that is causing you to feel that way. And I had some parents like, oh, yeah. It was like light bulb, from Minions or whatever, Despicable Me. Light bulb. But and I think that same thing can be transferred here. Like, if we constantly feel like we need bubble baths and whatever, I keep using that, but what is the root of that? And I think this reflective practice piece is a huge part of that. So share that article widely, because I think it's super important.
Have you followed the Padlet that teachers have added to? I'm looking for it right now. So when I get it, I'll send it. But it's a Padlet that somebody has set up on Twitter, or through Twitter, that teachers just keep responding to about where they're at and what they're feeling, and it's just, it's really raw and really honest, and some of it sucks and some of it doesn't. But it gives you that picture of this is the mental health of the teachers that are teaching our kids. And we talk to our families about mental health, but if we don't take care of ourselves, what good are we? So I'll find it and send it to you once I get it. And maybe, you know what, it might be a downer to read, so maybe I won't do it. You don't need another downer. So
we need reality, though.
That's
good to know we're not alone.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Because if we don't collaborate and say, hello, like, we are really tired and here's why, then everyone's going to think, oh, well, no one's talking about this, so I must be alone.
I'm looking.
Well, and I guess for me, it's also action, I mean, it is, and that's where hearing from other people that things are the same, because you get really tired, right, of sort of seeing where there's problems and seeing sort of being ignored. And my former department, well, now I'm not going in there. I'm being recorded, and but it's discouraging, right? It gets very discouraging. But then when you do hear that other people are facing very, very similar issues, right? Then it becomes, then it's just like, it's validating, right? It isn't just, and I'm sure there's like some phases of this stuff, but then it's just like, well, then if it's a problem that a lot of people are facing, then why don't we get together and make a change, right? And then it moves towards that empowerment piece. And at least for me, that's part of self-care, right? Because the bubble baths are very soothing, you know, and then there's the venting and the releasing, and then there's the validation and not feeling alone. But then, at least for me, it's also that feeling of we can make a change, like we can do something differently. And I think maybe this is where Christy thinking, I mean, around you see a need, and you know, you'd like to let some other things go because you want to address the need. So.
Well, that's one of the crux pieces of self-care is boundaries, you know, and it's just been on my mind that we have a unique situation going on here, or maybe not so unique. Like we had a staffing shift and now I'm like the last TOSA standing and am only like a 0.6. So, you know, having to say, nope, I can't do that presentation. Nope, I can't lead that meeting. Nope, like that's self-care and sleeping and exercising but sometimes you just feel like you don't have like even one more like brisk walk in you, or even, you know, like, so I think that is like, we could organize something and take care. I just don't want to. Like I want someone, like I want to hire someone to take care of us. That's what we need right now.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Karen, this Padlet is really something.
Isn't it amazing? It's amazing and scary and real. And you know, here I'm tired of being celebrated as a hero. We shouldn't be asked to do this much. It's like, yes.
Yeah. It's yeah, I mean, I think in terms of parent ed, it would be interesting. So, you know, parents are quick to. I was chatting with a neighbor on a dog walk yesterday, and she was saying that her son is hybrid, and on the days that he's at home doing all the online stuff, he's a second grader. He's posting all the stuff, and they're conscientiously doing all the work. And she was frustrated because there hasn't been one like by the teacher of any of the Seesaw postings. And you know, and she was really venomous about that, and because she felt like they'd worked hard to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that. And I just said a little bit about how that teacher is working a full day at school with kids. She's a hybrid teacher. So she says goodbye to her last kiddo at 3. And then she's got 20 kids worth of Seesaw
Mm-hmm.
who weren't in school. Like, that's a lot.
On a daily basis.
On a daily basis. They have Wednesdays for planning. This is Edina, but that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that like we all need to remember, I think in terms of parent ed, this would be an interesting perspective to share. Like, teachers are not okay. So.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many directions we could go with this.
Yeah.
And all the directions I think of are to help others, but not necessarily to help ourselves. So I got to shift that thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're helping each other right now. Like I'm helping, like this helps me right now. And I am going to continue to pursue. I already looked up Nate Page on Psychology Today.
So Nate, actually he's I had his wife in ECFE. She's a psychologist as well. And she said, well, my husband has already done some stuff with the school district. And I was like, he has? And she's like, yeah. What? And I said, what's his name? And she told me. I was like, duh. He did a whole thing for our beginning of year workshop week on teacher burnout.
Mhm.
And it was, I mean, there was a little bit of self-care mixed into it, but I was like, oh yeah, he was wonderful. We loved him. And she's like, oh yeah. So I just said, a group of parent educators, we're kind of looking at finding someone. She's like, oh, that's his jam. She said, send him an email. So that was I had that conversation with her yesterday. So I am going to reach out to him and say, hey, and just explore. And if not him, then who can he send me to, So.
Yeah, we'll get something together.
Mhm.
We'll get something going.
But yeah, I agree. Just this is, I can't tell you how I look forward to these Friday noon things. It just feel a lot better.
Part of this is, yes, we need the self-care, but the other part of it is we have a lot on our plates, and Christy talked about saying no, and maybe that's what we need to start doing. I mean, maybe we need to let's go simple, let's not go more complex. Let's simplify our work.
And now is not the year to,
Yeah.
and like build different new skills. Like we're just in survival mode. Like you were saying, Christy, like enough with the PD.
We just added the pyramid model this year, and because it's a grant, we have to do it. So, yeah, like what?
That's not really reasonable, Greta. Like it's a grant through MDE, right? And we're all in the same soup. Like, what are they smoking? I'm sorry. Oh gosh, we're being recorded. I think that's unreasonable. Did I mention I'm not currently employed?
They did take the teapots and tippy toes and stuff off. I'm not sure what that even means, but they took some things and are reducing the number per month of observation. But we still had to go through 2 8-day trainings, and then if you're on the implementation team, it's a lot. It's a lot. In the midst of all this other stuff, and you want to start something well and get it off on a great foot. It's tricky.
And we did it at Edina for as long as I was there, and it's great. It's a rich, great reflection, speaking of reflecting, and like planning process to do when when you have the time and the bandwidth to really lean into it. So it's I don't know if they're doing it this year, but we were 3 years in.
Yeah.
Or 2 years in, I don't know.
Sarah, how things are going?
Yeah, good things.
Going into Edina.
Well, we have a meeting this afternoon from our union reps. So our union reps, I was going to say, are another source of advocacy for protecting teacher workload. And I know that Tom Connell is our district rep, and he has written recently a letter on behalf of all teachers, just in terms of workload and all of this stuff. So that's another source for advocacy if you guys haven't plugged into that for whatever reason. But we have a meeting this afternoon with an update on our the EME grievance against the district with respect to our contracts. And that's just going to be an update. So I can't speculate on what's going to go on with that. But what I heard the last time we met was that Tom was meeting with the district. I think it was a level 3 meeting to try to come to an agreement around the disagreement. And if that went nowhere, then it would be elevated to mediation. And if mediation doesn't work, then the process would go to binding arbitration. And he was feeling like it was probable that it would elevate based on what he was hearing from the district. So those of you who don't know, we're all contracted teachers, and they laid us off 5 PEs, and essentially all the early childhood teachers who were laid off but then invited to reapply for the same jobs they had been doing as a part-time hourly workers, which they were paid for as contracted teachers the years previous. So
isn't that just national labor relations? Like that's just plain union busting.
It is really interesting. So so for your information, what I understand to be the district's position is there's no explicit requirement that early childhood educators or parent educators be defined as contracted teachers, which is the reason they are, I think, at the risk of misstating their position, the reason they are digging in on their right, I guess, to just disregard the contract that they had signed with us in 2017. And Tom's position, our position is, of course, that doesn't make any sense. Just because we're not explicitly included doesn't mean we haven't been included by the district as recently as 2017, signed on to the contract. So, but evidently they feel like they have a strong enough case to dig in. So it's a huge bummer, but
Sarah, I just have a question. Do they talk about re-implementing it once this is over, or has that not even ever been talked about?
Yeah, that's what Tom is asking for. So he's asking for our FTEs to be basically restored and then reclassified as unrequested leave.
Okay.
Right, or restored and provide and giving us like stuff to do that would equal the FTE that we had,
Sure.
right? Like sign us on, re-sign us on. That's what he's asking for. And basically, yeah, you can't just kick people out of a bargaining unit into another bargaining unit because you figured out for whatever reason that you can't keep them.
I keep going back to when when ECFE was established in Edina and what that contract looked like back in '85. And what are they,
well, and teachers didn't get on the contract until 2 years ago, Sarah, is that right?
2017.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so it's recent. So a lot of the people who were in the room when that happened are still in the districts. Many are not. A couple of key people are not. But it's not like this is like a problem. Like if there's a budget problem with fulfilling the financial requirements of the contract, it's not like that couldn't have been anticipated. Right? Because these are not old spreadsheets. So yeah, it's just a bummer. It's just a bummer. So I'm hopeful, but
and so meanwhile, ECFE is not being offered.
Well, okay, so meanwhile, ECFE in Edina consists of, so there's one licensed parent educator still there who's dual licensed. That's Brenda Liebert, who's awesome. And she's been on some of these calls, and she is running, I think, 3 babies classes. So thank goodness there's something for the community, right? 2 of those are waitlisted, which is, I have questions about like what that might mean in terms of unmet need. And then I think they're enrolling right now, they're trying to do a twos class, like an outdoor twos class, and they're enrolling it as a 5-week class. So it's not like a year-long traditional anything. And then they've also enrolled a couple of adult-only, like adult ed for parents and caregivers classes that I think they're now looking for a parent ed to sign on to do. And they're going through to their credit, they're going through the seniority of the people they let go to see if someone is willing to take that work. So Susan, so it would be incorrect to say there is no ECFE at Edina right now. However, what's there is wispy compared to what has been in previous years.
Sarah, if you take that work, do you give up rights to your grievance?
No, Tom has given all of us language to craft if we were to accept that work, but the work, it's like a 0.09. So it's 5 weeks of work and it's pay for direct contact time only. So even though those are 2 like never before done classes, there's no curriculum development
and
or anything.
No prep at all.
I mean, I think there might be 5 for 25, 5 minutes for a prep for 25 minutes of direct contact, of prep factored in. So thanks for shaking your heads, guys.
This is where you go, why are you not learning? Why do you not get this? Like, all of our kids are coming to you eventually. Like, why don't you see the importance of early childhood?
And parents, all of the parents are coming. Like, this is the pipeline for parent development as well, and volunteerism and loyalty and relationship and trust.
Exactly.
All of it.
Exactly.
I mean, listen, my family's so tired of hearing about this. Yeah. So short-sighted, disappointing.
I just reshared the Padlet. After listening to the very, very
Thanks, Susan. On a personal note, I'll share, I have continued with Group Parent Ed Online on I've put up my own shingle, and I'm able to continue to support some parents, which feels great. But I really miss people who are 4. I really miss ECFE, and I love it. And I miss this. Of course, I also miss like the structure of the week that scaffolded in, you know, the days I was at school and all of that. So I am, so I'm continuing to, the wheels are still turning, but it's challenging to like make your own structure every day. Thanks for asking.
Thank you for sharing. San, how are things in St. Paul? And with you, I should ask, like, de-identify you from location. And it looks like you're on a lovely beach setting somewhere.
Yeah, this is my wish to be at the lake. I went to for a walk yesterday, and it was gorgeous. I just couldn't help myself, so I took a photo, and then just this is my escape.
Where were you?
My self-care. But St. Paul is going, but it's really kind of messy right now because they changed pretty much everything about the program. Pretty much everything. Like it just flipped over really. So we're trying to adjust. It's just hard. It's as you know, it's stress cortisol level is so high for everybody. Yeah. Because everything you have to do from not from scratch, but it's really they have changed almost everything. So about how you categorize classes, and we used to have sites, and now you have to change categorize ECFE classes into age groups, and then or language specialty classes, or you know, some special needs, or so. It's just different, you know, they are assigned to different teams, and then so it's just everything's new.
Are you delivering anything? What's the setup? Is it everything online? Is it hybrid? Is it children are coming in, parents are online?
We're still in online, distance learning only phase now, but we just got the email from the district that they are slowly moving into hybrid. So some programs like some schools serve like a special needs children or something are going to hybrid. I think next week or after next, yeah.
Okay.
But ECFE, so because of the essential, what's called essential care for children, and then many buildings we used to have for ECFE programs have been taking over, they're using our space for the essential care program. So we may not know when and or even do we even have a buildings to go back? So we don't know.
Something.
So even if you, I'm sorry, go ahead, Greta. Okay.
I was just thinking this morning. I had a conversation with one of our assistants, and we are on Monday moving in elementary from in person to hybrid. And so a lot of families are going through that change now, their child going every day to 2 times a week and figuring that out. And her life is kind of in upheaval. And our program has been changed too, kind of like you were talking about, Sam. And I said to her, it feels like I haven't ridden a bike for 5 years. And now they've put me on a course, and I'm trying to get my balance and my pedals down and my strength up. And I I can't even consider the course. I have to just get back to how do I do what I do, and it's all so wonky. And it's what I was thinking about when I was getting ready this morning. I'm thinking it's just hard to do the normal. I forgot about an interest finder. I forgot about an icebreaker, and I'm like, this is my jam. And I'm even struggling with what's normally really easy, and it's just feeling like that. And I had to come up with a way to describe it to her. She goes, yeah, that's it. She's in a different building for one class, and she's gone to a preschool for a couple sessions, and now we're doing the split room thing. So we have more families, but all at the same time, but in different spaces. It's just, yeah, it feels like I'm trying to ride a bike after 5 years, being put on a very difficult, maybe a mountain bike trail, actually. and I can't even pedal. I don't know. That was just a metaphor that made sense to me this morning. I don't know if it fits for anybody else, but no, it's hard.
It is, yeah.
It feels like for me, it feels like I'm on the verge of tears almost hourly about something, about somebody telling me something, or about something I'm having to all of a sudden do. I just always feel like I gotta breathe.
We watched for our beginning of the year this little video clip where there's these adults in that ball pit, and they're getting to know each other. So take a seat and make a friend kind of thing. I don't know if any of you know that one. And at the end of these two adults sitting, and they have like 3 or 4 different groups of adults, they're sitting there and they try to find commonality, and then they share something about themselves. And then at the end they do a handshake, and all of them hug, and I'm crying. Like, I need to hug. And I looked at the parents in the group and saying, I don't know how many strangers you hug, but I want to hug a stranger right now. And I can feel it viscerally in my gut, and I can feel it flowing through me. And I just say, I don't know what to do, but here we are. Let's kind of cry a little bit about the scenario. And last night I was at a form meeting where they talked about, let's talk about race. Where do we go from here? And one of the things they talked about to interrupt our bias is to slow down. And I thought, yeah, I need to slow down, even with ECFE and how we're doing distance learning. And I thought, yeah, this is not just about being subjective and intuitive. This is about how do I find objective stuff that's evidence-based that I can work with, but it's all being tousled. Even the evidence-based stuff is being tousled, and I can't feel a way to trust. So anyway, it's just a slow daily thing. And I guess that brings us together because everyone's feeling it, right? Yeah. So in some ways that's supportive, even if it's different. I'll step down from my emotional upheaval moment.
Yeah. Anyway. I feel sorry for Sarah about Edina, ECFE laid off. And I don't know if they laid off like out of the blue, or just, or you had a warnings or something, but in St. Paul too. So we have lots of bosses, and I don't know, it's recording, so I don't know if I should say this. So one of the, administrator came to our staff Zoom meeting, and then because of the numbers, enrollment number went, of course, down everywhere, and St. Paul too. And then, so they love data. Data show, so they said, data shows blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. And then, yeah, it's just throw the numbers at us, in the Zoom meeting, the staff meeting. See, this is, we have less than half of the parents, families signed up this year, comparing to the previous years and past 4 years. So anyway, they throw numbers at us, and then so, technically, we cannot, sustain this program for same amount of staff, number of staff, and with the, less than half, of the enrollment. And So technically, you know, it was, I don't know, can you edit maybe later? She said, there's only two options, she said. One is you become the part of the solution, or she literally said, you resign. You either part of the solution to, you know, for this, or you resign. Literally, she threatened us. So in addition to so much stress, everybody we have already, in addition to that threat, it was nightmare for many staff members. Actually, I had a coworker said she almost, you know, she had a lot of tragedies. Many family members passed away because of the COVID.
Mhm.
Her boyfriend and her sister, it was just awful. And then she have 3 more years to retire, and she doesn't want to be laid off. Nobody wants to be, but especially she has, you know, grandchildren and taking care of grandchildren. Oh my God, she was almost in tears, and it was yeah. So it's just, and then every month they're gonna say, every now and then they're gonna check the data numbers. So we are constantly under the threat of being laid off. So it's just not a great situation to work in. Yeah.
I feel like this is the year, you guys, where we really need to do some significant advocacy for ECFE. And I know that none of us have time for this, you know, and it's looking like Menafee is not going to be in person. I mean, unless something magically happens here before April. But I feel like it's instances like this where, especially in Edina, that it's just, we need to bring in some data that talks about the importance. I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to use your air quotes on. But we really do need to bring in some data that talks about the benefits of the kids coming to ECFE and the early intervention, the benefits of parents getting that first really positive gateway into the school. I mean, I don't need to tell you guys this, you know this. We need to compile this data in a pretty little package with a nice sparkly bow on top so we can present it to administrators who don't get it and say, here's the deal. We get that we don't have the numbers, but this is why we need to keep going because this is so important.
Mhm.
You know, and maybe we do this together and we all put in our data and we all put it together, and somebody who's really good at making it look pretty, or maybe I don't know. I just feel like this is the year to do it on top of everything, because this is the year where it's being the most threatened. And it's also the year where we know it is the most necessary.
Well, of course, I completely agree. You know, and I would encourage any administrator that is looking at the data to not look at short-term data, right? But this is always my frustration with planning, is that there needs to be like a long-term vision and an understanding what the sustainability of a program means, not today, not next year, right? But in 5 years. And if they want to kill ECFE, they will slow it down and water it down this year, because it's like cutting the legs off, and then COVID will be past. It will be past. We'll be back on the road, right? People will be going, didn't we used to have ECFE in this state? And it'll be like, we can't get it back because it's been disseminated, right? Or disbanded. And so I would encourage an administrator to believe, if they believed in it last year and the year before that and the year before that, they need to believe in it 5 years from now and keep it going. I mean, I always think of like if you're moving, if you have a child in any kind of transition, right? the last thing, what do you give to that child? Consistency, security. And you don't throw on new stuff, right? You don't make changes. You give the child something that is consistent. And there's so many families that ECFE is their lifeline, it's their church, it's their anchor, it's their community, it's whatever. And if you take that away, like what are they going to have? Or you start changing it up, or you put, put everything online or whatever, right? And then it's just like, wait a minute, where is it? And where are my people? And how am I doing? It's like, now you've taken the kid's security blanket away. So anyway, not to get into that sermon, but I would encourage administrators, or I hope your administrators are, and larger school districts, of course, are looking down the road, right? That they're not just looking at this data for right now and immediately. Because I'll tell you, I mean, running the parent ed program at the university, we faced a number of years looking over our shoulder about being cut, because we saw there was there's like a developmentally assisted parent or physical ed anyway, we saw a number of teacher license programs gone away, including the family and consumer sciences. And it was all based on enrollment. It was all based on how many students were coming in. And so every year, because I had administrator after administrator, they didn't get parent ed, right? They just got money. They got tuition. And I understand that was their bottom line, and that's how they kept things going. But it was like, how do I continue to demonstrate the effectiveness of this program and the purpose of this program while also trying to keep the numbers up, Anyway, so I just hope for your all sakes that you've got administrators with vision who have good advocacy with state legislatures, to keep the money flowing in, that they're not just looking in the short term.
I also think we have to go back to those parents that have graduated through ECFE, right? Because I think they're going to be our biggest advocates too. They're going to say, I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't have my group, my people, right? And I mean, yeah, well, in our community for sure, they're looking for like an ECFE for elementary school or for middle school, right? Like they're looking for that. Where is my extra help? Where are my groups of people that I can rely on? Because ECFE has got me through so much stuff. Mm-hmm. Now I just want to continue, but how and where? Mm-hmm. And so I think we need to look at people that I have also graduated through this program too. Mm-hmm. So, mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, can we leave this on a positive note?
The positive note is that I think we all feel refreshed and energized from these Friday things. I kind of wish I could have them on a Monday morning to get me geared up for the day. Because by Friday, I'm like, in a couple hours, I'm going to pour myself a glass of wine and forget about work for the weekend. But it's Monday where I'm like, rah, I need some, yeah. But no, I think these are so helpful for me, you guys. So.
Well, Ellen, you can always, pour yourself a cup of coffee on Monday morning and rewatch the Friday video.
I could. You're right.
So everybody say to Ellen, good morning, Ellen.
Good morning, Ellen.
Good morning, Ellen. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Have a great week.
Go get them.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. This has been wonderful. Thank you for your honesty and sharing resources and yourselves. So I do hope you have a great weekend and a great week. I'm turning in this paper to the UN next Thursday, so I'm putting in long hours, but that's just that realization of I have the time now, I won't have the time after that date. So like, you've got to find the extra time now. So if my eyes look like Mike Pence's bloodshot eyes, and I have a
Hey, quick question, Susan.
Yeah.
Congratulations on getting the paper to the finish line. That's amazing. Are we meeting next Friday because it's MEA?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Do you want to?
I mean, I can't. So every day is the same for me.
I mean, the link is open. I didn't even know it was MEA, so
okay,
doesn't matter to me.
I'll be gone, but you guys
are
carry
all
on.
gone, you know, if you want to skip a week, that's fine.
I say whoever can meet. I mean, if it's just a teeny little group, go for it.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, again, it's sort of my thing about consistency. I mean, sort of walk that walk is,
And
you know, that it's there when you need it. And if you don't need it, you know, you don't need it, but it's always nice to know that when you do, you know, so.
and maybe there's people who can't come when classes are running, but will come on MEA weekend.
Great point. That's a great point, Greta.
Exactly. So.
Thanks,
I'll be
everyone.
in Door County camping, so sorry.
Enjoy.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful.
I'll also be camping, but not with Greta.
Sometime, Ellen.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
Bye,
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.